And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your guest Dan, aka smAsho, and we are starting things out looking at the sun in 304 angstroms to see a coronal mass ejection emanating from this filament up here. You'll see it collapse at the end of the 48-hour SDO video. Right there you can see that. And that appears to have been propelled out into space. We'll show you all about it in a minute. Let that play through one more time so you can see that once again. Northwest corner, and there you see that filament eruption. Here's the view in 193 angstroms. See if we're able to see anything from that view. And not a big signature of that on that view. Now here's what we're talking about. You're going to see right here. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably going to miss the Earth, but until we get a little more information about it, it's very hard to tell. No real forecasts to be made yet, at least not by me. Some activity on the opposite side of the sun too. And by the way, we're looking at the view from stereo A here for all you new viewers. The Earth is out in this vicinity, about on this plane right here. Here's the view from Soho, and we're not going to see any ejecta from that current coronal mass ejection yet. It's still a little bit too early for that to show up on the coronagraphs. Here's the C3, and we do see a sun-diving comet. Right in this region. Right there you can see that sun-diving comet on the Lascaux C3. It's also visible on the C2, right here. And there's that comet. It looks like it evaporated. Here are the fields on the sun right now. Here's the 304 angstroms fade. No sunspots, not a lot of magnetic organization happening. And we've got electrons once again, folks. The electrons have returned. Next, looking at real-time solar wind. Phi angle at 71 degrees. Solar wind density 7.84 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed all the way down to 334 kilometers per second, more like solar minimum conditions. KP index is at 1. After having been at 0 for 15 hours throughout yesterday. Next, geospace magnetosphere movies. We don't see a lot of pressure right now, as that solar wind speed is quite slow. Anyway, there's 4 hours of data, courtesy University of Michigan. Next, ground geospace magnetic perturbations, and we do see some here during this geomagnetic excursion. We've got 2 north poles, one over northern Canada, one over Siberia, and one down here someplace in the southern Indian Ocean. The South Pole has left the Antarctic continent quite far from the geographic pole. Anyway, there's 4 hours of data on that. Nothing too extravagant happening there. By the way, please consider becoming a patron, the true source of funding for these videos, as YouTube strives to pay us absolutely nothing. Please share the content with your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros. We're also on Subscribestar. Visit the links below the video to see how to help these videos continue to exist. Also, we have opened up an Amazon affiliate, and look for links coming there. Probably through this weekend, we'll probably set some stuff up. And shout out to all you Twitch folks. We are streaming live to Twitch right now. And thanks, Snitcherama. I greatly appreciate your comments. And there they are, by the way, viewers. Again, thanks, Snitcherama, for commenting We greatly appreciate it. We are also on YouTube, obviously. Please don't forget to press like and subscribe over there. Share the content. Visit our links. And thanks to our latest subscribers over at BitChute as well, bitchute.com/smAsho, where we get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more views per day than on YouTube. And welcome to another Smash Lights. This is going to be a very light version of Smash Lights. And don't look for a second video coming out today, as we may not make one. Congratulations on surviving COVID so far. Let's talk about some nutritional stuff. Turns out soy and wheat proteins are helpful for building aging muscles, but not as potent as animal protein. Now, I don't know what I would do if I would try to go vegan. It would be a problem for me because of protein consumption. So perhaps check out this article. It's on eurekalert.com, published 2 days ago. Scientists agree that the primary driver of muscle loss with age is reduction of muscle proteins being built from amino acids. The amino acids come from protein that we eat and are also formed when we exercise. And let's move on to talk about heliophysics, seismoheliophysics, magnetohydrodynamics. Some lengthy studies by the Max Planck Institute are showing this meridional convection system where the magnetism moves at a faster rate deep in the sun's interior toward the equator, and then more slowly toward the equator, and then more quickly toward the poles as it gets to a lower depth inside the sun. This one is from SciTech Daily. It should be all over the Science Wire today. So these are believed to be 125,000 mile deep magnetic wells. And by the way, the standard astronomy model, where there's a fusion core inside the sun fusing hydrogen into helium, makes no sense as far as how this happens. And that meridional jet stream, the meridional sun convection, is one of the explanations for things like the butterfly diagram and the solar sunspot cycle. So again, these areas seem to move more slowly on the interior and more quickly on the exterior, probably because of pressure, basic everyday gravitational pressure. So perhaps check that article on SciTech Daily. Let's talk about a chemically peculiar star, another thing that flies in the face of standard cosmology. Why are the chemical abundances on other stars so different from each other? How could they possibly do that? Well, it's probably because they're creating heavy elements in their atmospheres, something that we actually see happening, and have laboratory experiments showing that it can probably be done, although nobody's created a star in a jar, since stars are made out of condensed matter most likely, as opposed to plasma. So plasma is not magic. And let's see, unusual metal abundances are yet another thing yet to be understood by classical cosmology. So this particular one, HD 108662, also known as 17Com, is of a fairly average spectral class, but the atmosphere has a peculiar helium abundance. I'm sorry, a peculiar abundance in that the helium levels are deficient. So chemically peculiar stars are another interesting aspect of cosmology. Where do all those heavy elements come from, folks? Do they come from supernoval explosions? Or do they come from elsewhere? Turns out shock waves from stellar explosions, we're on to a new article here from phys.org in the astronomy and space section. Turns out shock waves from stellar explosions take preferential direction. Why is that? It's because the plasma orients to the magnetic fields. So the reason why supernova explosions don't typically look like a sphere is because as the plasma propagates, and by the way, the supernova explosions don't kill the stars remain there, which is why the plasma aligns to the magnetic fields. And this is why we typically see points of light inside of supernoval remnants, because, well, the evolution of stars is absolutely not understood. And there's some promising stuff out there, like condensed matter star theory, that could explain how everything in cosmology works in a reasonable fashion, which is backed up by the observations. Anyway, the extreme magnetic fields, which can reach a strength of 10 Tesla, which is 2 Tesla higher than the one that Robitaille used on his head, which his colleagues told would kill him, in their laboratory experiments to simulate this. So, of course, the fields in stars are a little bit larger than 10 Tesla. Perhaps read about this one, about shock waves and why they propagate the way they do in preferential direction out of noval explosions. Let's talk about a feel-good story. This woman flew across the nation wearing a hazmat suit. Anyway, it turns out some people think she was overdoing it, and some people think she wasn't. She got a lot of weird looks, that's for sure. And somebody after my own heart, as I've been carrying things through to their logical conclusion as well, and donning a full hazmat suit myself. Probably going to stage a video about it soon, so look for that as an upcoming thing. And Dr. Fauci's been opening his face again. Fauci states need to address problems with COVID-19 response. If you don't admit it, you can't correct it, right? The first way to solve a problem is by admitting you have a problem, right? In any case, I have one thing to say about this. No second lockdown and get rid of the mask requirements. It's COVIDiotic and utterly ineffective to tell healthy people to wear masks and to stay home and to keep their businesses closed, as there is zero, count it, zero evidence of asymptomatic transmission. So I don't know why all you mask Karens are out there Karening on everybody, but just stop. And I don't really take advice from people who know less about science than one of my toenail clippings. Now, one of our viewers, Mary, has certainly survived a global pandemic so far, and congratulations to you on doing the same. All of our viewers, for surviving a global pandemic. Check out smAshomash.com/forum if you haven't yet. For instance, we've got a recently updated section on coronavirus, which is 31 pages in length, going all the way back to January 23rd when we stopped covering it. Mary says Michigan's economy is in ruins, which is induced by the governor. Yesterday, there was talk of another lockdown, and now Walmart made masks mandatory. Mary wishes she could move to another country, one that hasn't lost their mind, perhaps Sweden or Switzerland. Printing money, protests, and the election. The people, they have most people distanced while Agenda 21 is put into motion. It's sickening. And here ends today's shortened version of Smash Lights during our Smash stream. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux is still at, it's down to 67, folks. OMG. And check out Comet Neowise. It's getting pretty good. This one photographed over Spicheren, France. Nice. So yeah, 10.7 centimeter radio flux down to 67. Pretty low values there. And there's about a 2-year chart on the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. Back to solar minimum radio flux conditions. Keep in mind, there's probably some plasma out there. So look for things like limb darkening and follow that coronal mass ejection throughout the day. X-ray flux is pretty flatlined here. Again, we see no sunspots or significant active regions, and the proton flux is similarly flatlined. Gauss magnetometer is a little bit spiky here. We actually got surprisingly high readings off of this. Here's the data from the Gong 2, showing a visualization of the magnetic fields, showing the current sheet here in its polarity. The Earth is still solidly in the North Pole. Current sheet shown in green. And it looks like we'll remain there over the next 48 hours or so, as the probable activity north of the equator must have dried up. Let's look at the line of sight field plot, showing the B field, the one on which you live, in blue. Nothing to write home about there. Here's where stuff is in the solar system, and shout out to theplanetstoday.com for fixing your mobile version of your solar system diagram. Here's where things are today. There's where things will be in a week, approaching another new moon, my favorite phase of the moon, as sleep improves. And if you get up before dawn, as I do most days, practically every day, you should have a great view. Venus is getting higher and higher in the sky here, the third brightest object, at a magnitude -4.5. You'll also see Mars and the Moon and Saturn and Jupiter up there. So it's a great time to go out and look at the ecliptic if you're up before dawn. We've got some electrons back, highest levels in about 3 months. And there you can see once again they've come off the floor, not quite reached alert threshold levels. And don't be surprised if they do reach alert threshold levels today. That's my forecast. Total electron content isn't showing a whole lot of anomalies here. You can see a little bit stronger electron content. Keep in mind this is the entire air column all the way up to the thermosphere, showing you where GPS errors would be. And at nighttime, we typically see less, but we are seeing some continued anomalies here over Mexico, southern Baja California, Central America, and the Caribbean. Next, looking at just the ionosphere, here's 6 hours of data courtesy of Government of Australia Bureau of Meteorology. And we see a highly discharged sun-facing portion and a fairly normal nighttime side. So here's the latest image. And you can see how discharged it is here, making it only to 7 megahertz on the sun-facing side. Next, earthquakes. And we saw, yesterday we reported many, many deep earthquakes, and some earthquakes in odd places, such as one in Poland. Let's go up the list. Here's a deep quake in western South America. It's a 4.3 magnitude at 113.8 kilometers. And back to the list here. Scrolling up. The largest quake of the past 24 appears to be a 5+ magnitude at Colombia. We'll get to it. There's one at the Falklands. So the deep quakes have ceased for the most part here. We see a few coming off. There's another deep quake at Argentina. It's a 4.5 at 113 kilometers. Here's a very shallow quake at Redwood Valley, California. This one coming at 400 meters above sea level. And there's a location of that one just northeast of Lake Mendocino. Leave us a comment if you felt that quake. By the way, please have an earthquake plan if you're in an earthquake-prone zone. Try to be an asset, not a liability, if buildings start to fall. Know which buildings might fall beforehand. Here's a deep quake at Colombia, and it's a 5.1 magnitude at 159 kilometers. Here's a deep quake at Russia, in between Japan and the Kamchatka Peninsula. That one came in at 5:14 Universal Time. Volcanoes have chilled out a little bit here, although we've got a new one on the list, Laguna de Male. Anyway, Revenador is exploding, flight level 15,000 there. Sabancaya, down there in Peru, exploding, flight level 24,000 there. Seismicity remains elevated at Laguna de Male in central Chile, with earthquakes located east of the volcano with about a 5-kilometer diameter. Also some elevated carbon dioxide emissions. Alert level remains at yellow. Please do not attempt to pole vault the caldera at Laguna del Male, as it could be an unhealthful endeavor. Next, looking at the jet streams, here's the geographic South Pole. And we see extreme meridional jet stream flow once again. Stuff like this is going to cause people to say, OMG, OMG, Antarctica's melting, and we're all going to die as a result. Here's the Western world's jet streams. And we've got some stagnant jet stream above my head right now. And I'm located in eastern Pennsylvania, if you're wondering. Next, we're going to look at the pressure maps on windy.com. And we'll let this advance into the GFS forecast. Windy.com's got a great mobile app. Check that out on your smartphone if you haven't. And visit our links below the video to fund our operation to ensure and enhance the probability that these videos will continue to exist, be publicly accessible, and free. Lightningmaps.org, otherwise known as blitzortung.org, showing us some lightning strikes on Lake Michigan, in Minnesota, as well as west of Kansas City. And this storm is oddly moving south. We'll show you it on the Doppler radar momentarily. Hey, Manhattan. Hey, Salina. Hey, Abilene. There's thunder rolling in. Hey, Wichita. I believe you are in the crosshairs, and you might get some extreme weather here. Next, looking at water vapor maps. Here's Europe and Africa. Here is the Far East and Oceania's water vapor maps. A bit of an anomalous looking area up here. And here's the Americas water vapor maps. You can see this counterclockwise rotating anticyclone here, partially over the South Atlantic anomaly. It's been there for quite a while. And here's the U.S. cloud cover situation. We use the NASA GOES shortwave satellite for this so that we can see clouds at nighttime or make an educated guess. Here's a water vapor map for the same region and time frame. Some serious low pressure off the coast of Florida here. And that could be building into something. And let's take a look at this convergence zone here. It's all trapped in between a bunch of dry air, which is causing compression, as you've got a massive pressure gradient across these areas. Anyway, that should give you some insight into the way those storms are moving. We use the water vapor map when we can't tell what's happening on the Doppler radar. So here's a Doppler radar, and you can see that extremely strong band of storms there in Kansas. Let's hope nobody ends up in Oz as a result of those. Also some very strong storms over north central Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and South Dakota. Hey, Smash team, thanks for tuning into the Smash stream. Whether you viewed it live or you viewed it Memorex, please don't forget to share on your social media. And thanks for flying American Smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times. We've got some bonus features. Here's the intensity gram of the solar disk to show you 0 sunspots. Here's the latest colorized magnetogram. Places to keep an eye on are this area right here. And of course this whole area up here, because it's where that coronal mass ejection appears to have come from. We've got one more SDO video. It's 48 hours and 171 angstroms. Again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. Check out our playlists on YouTube. Look for another Terms Defined video coming out once again featuring Eugene Bagashov, about nationalism. Yes, that's right, nationalism, as there are a lot of misconceptions suggesting that it's a bad thing. Anyway, we're out. We'll talk to you soon. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, and may that solar wind be at your back.